summer series episodes of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, where I am giving voice actors the opportunity to jump on the show and ask me one of their most pressing business and marketing questions. And hopefully the end result of that is they get an answer that helps them. So today, welcome to the show, Amy Tallmadge. Tell me, what is your question?
Hi, Mark. So I have been considering getting back into commercial voiceover after that was where I started. But primarily the last several years, I've been working mostly in audiobooks and narration.
Okay.
I recently went to VO Atlanta, and I was starting to hear from some of the agents there that the standard now may be that, kind of like how promo VO has always done, they are expected to be available at a moment's notice, to travel with gear. It's starting to sound like the commercial industry is starting to move that way too. And I was wondering what your take on that was, if that is true, or if it's something that just varies from agent to agent or market to market. And just, start the discussion on like the broader subject of how our industry is changing, and often changing really fast.
You are never allowed to take a day off, ever. You must be on call to the voiceover gods 24/7. If they call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have until 3:05 to pee, brush your teeth, and be down in the booth. And
Sometimes it feels that way. I used to have a coach that she said that like sometimes she felt like clients just felt like talent was a book on the shelf that they could just pull down and just open it right up, and there they are.
it's an interesting question, because I will tell you straight up, when I first got started in the industry, one of the reasons why I was able to grow my business so quickly was because I was really quick about delivering, and people just really seemed to appreciate that. And that wasn't specifically commercial. That's anything across the board. If you send something to me, if you send me a 2-minute script in the middle of the afternoon, like, how long does it take me to actually do that? It really doesn't take that long. And so there was this thing, I actually remember getting in trouble from some veteran voice actors at one point, because they're like, if they're giving you 3 days, like, take the 3 days. What are you doing? And I'm like, okay, that's one way to do it. Or I could deliver immediately and then be ready for the next project. And so why would I want to just keep kicking the can down the road? But I was upsetting some of the old guard, we'll say, because they want to take their time, and they want to have the luxury of that time. And so, did I screw myself in the end? I don't know, I guess. Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, my business grew very quickly, and it was always consistently across the board. The number one piece of feedback that I got was, thank you for delivering this so quickly. That being said, in whatever, almost 20 years of doing this at this point, I could count the number of times that I've had to rush into the studio after hours to do like an emergency project, probably on my two hands with a couple of fingers left over. Like, the rest of the world doesn't necessarily want to work 24/7 either. Now, are there exceptions? Certainly. I remember watching the World Series. I see you got your Jays jersey on. And I remember watching the World Series and feeling so bad for Mike Pongratz, who's a Canadian voice actor. He was doing promo for Sportsnet. And like that one game that went like 17 innings that didn't end until like 2:30 in the morning or something, like he's literally sitting there waiting with his production guy so that they can go and do the promos after that game. And I remember just thinking like, well, I get to go to bed now. Right. And so
yeah.
Are there instances where the expectations are higher or the requirements are greater on you? I mean, no question about it. Joe Cipriano has talked about that in the promo space. Like, at one point, I remember him talking about being contractually obligated to being within so many miles or so many minutes of a studio at any given time, to the point where he literally took travel gear with him every single time he left his house, almost, or at least that's, kind of what it felt like.
That's the story that I keep, sorry to interrupt you. That's the story that I keep thinking of, is Joe's story. And then I am starting to hear this from other talent who are like, oh yeah, I never leave my house without travel gear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
I think
that's dedication.
I think there's more FOMO in that than there is industry expectation. And what I mean by that is, particularly if you have, let's say you've got multiple agents, maybe you got 2 or 3 online casting sites. it's inevitable that if you leave the house for the day, you're going to miss a bunch of auditions, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you are required to be at home auditioning all the time. It just means sometimes you're going to leave the house and sometimes you're going to miss out on auditions. And some of us are like, okay, that's the nature of the beast, right? Like, part of the reason why I love this industry is the freedom and flexibility that comes with it. You know, I get to make my own schedule. I get to go to my kids' track meet or whatever, and I'm okay with that. Some people aren't okay with that. Some people get really annoyed about missing auditions, or, you know, they really don't want to miss auditions. And so they feel like they need to have their stuff with them every time they go. Have I, like, I mean, okay, I'm probably not the best example because I'm not like, you know, multiple agents across multiple jurisdictions and, you know, A-list Hollywood or whatever. Have I ever had an agent tell me you have to take your stuff with you if you're going away? No. My agents have just said, if you're going away, just let us know so we can book you out. That's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's all I've ever been told. Now, are there times when I go away and I let my agents know, hey, I'm going to be traveling, but I will have my gear with me, you know, so I can do something if absolutely necessary. Yeah, there's times when I do that. Just like there are times when I say I'm going to be gone and I'm going to be unavailable and just book me out. And they say,
Yeah.
okay. And if I miss
Mhm.
something, I miss something. And I mean, at this point, if you're anywhere in Canada or the United States at the very least, like, are you ever really that far away from a city and a studio? Like, if my agent calls me when I'm traveling and they're like, look, I got this $10,000 national commercial gig that we got to do tomorrow, and I'm looking on Google Maps and trying to figure out, okay, well, let's see, the closest studio is an hour away. I'll make that drive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, are we ever truly that disconnected that we couldn't make it work if we had to?
Not usually, I think. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good point. I used to, when I was working commercial and had an agent, like, this was like probably, gosh, probably more than 10 years ago. But he even said, you know, if it's just the audition and they just want to hear your voice, he said, just do it on their phone. Like,
Yep.
that's all they want to hear is your voice.
Yep.
And but I'm starting to wonder, like, because the technology is advancing so much, like, just what we can do as talent has advanced so much that I was wondering if those standards are beginning to change with the expectation for of what clients expect to hear from you. Like, you know,
Yeah. Is it? I mean, I have definitely heard agents that have said that before. Just record it on your phone, right? And we'll let them know that you recorded this on your phone, because I think you're right. I think they're listening, you know, in that instance, they're listening more for what you gave them in the read than what they are listening for the quality of your studio. So I think if it's being acknowledged, this was a phone audition or whatever. And I have heard agents say that before. But I will also say this: all the voice actors who are recording these big national commercial campaigns from their custom built home studios and their studio bricks and their whisper rooms and whatever. I mean, right? My custom studios right here with my U87 and my 416 and whatever. Guess what? When I'm at VO Atlanta, do you know what I'm doing? I'm building a pillow fort like every other stinking voice actor in the hotel, and I'm submitting. And so, is it nice to have a fancy custom built booth with nice microphones and room to move around and whatever? Yep. Have I recorded in the back seat of a rental car on an interstate pullout in West Virginia and booked the job? Yep, I have. Right? And so,
good for you.
are expectations changing? Possibly, but the technology is also changing to make it so that it's easier for us to do some of this stuff than ever before. Now, I still don't think that that means that you have to have gear with you 24/7. I think that we are entitled to vacations, just like agents are entitled to vacations and casting directors are entitled to vacations, and anybody in the free world is entitled to a vacation. But can you get a little portable interface that takes up almost no room in your suitcase? And could you get a shotgun mic like a 416 or something similar that takes up almost no room in your suitcase? And could you record in the back seat of your car? Or could you record in a hotel closet room? Like, yes, you could, and you could totally get away with it. In fact, think about your car. Think about how quiet your car is when you're driving down the interstate. George Whittam's talked about this before. Like, they're literally built to be soundproof. And so Are there ways that we could get around it? Sure. But I do, and maybe I'm still on the outside of all of this, but I do wonder how much of this is just the mentality of the voice actor that is changing, not wanting to miss out, right? That fear of missing out on that really great audition versus an actual expectation of, hey, you better be available 24/7. Now, automotive, slightly different story, right? There, and talk to anybody that's doing automotive on a consistent basis, and they'll tell you, and I've had Bobby Maxwell on the show. She talked about this. Like, there are certain days of the month, every month, where she knows the automotive spots are coming and she better be available to do them. And she books her vacation around that. She books her schedule around that so that she knows on whatever it is, the second day of every month or whatever that day is, that she's going to be there. She's going to be available to do all of those automotives. And so that, you call that the exception to the rule, possibly. As we get into political cycles, particularly in the United States, do political campaigns sometimes come at you on nights and weekends and things of that nature when stuff is breaking or things are changing very rapidly? Yeah, sure. And if you're in that genre and you are aware of that, are you more cognizant of that and making more of an intention of traveling with your gear? Probably. But just general commercial, I don't know. I have not seen anything yet that says you must always have your gear. I just accept that there's going to be a certain percentage of auditions that I may miss if I'm taking some time off, and I just got to make up for it when I am home or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I would say too, even with the auditions that I'm seeing from agents, most of them come with at least a 48-hour turnaround these days. I mean, do I get rush ones every once in a while? Sure. Do I get the one that comes in at 6:00 at night that says you got to have it by 10:00 the next morning? Sure. But just as often or more, I get one that says, this is due in 2 days or due in 3 days or whatever. And so there doesn't seem to be a great deal of urgency there. So maybe part of that is, again, it's just the particular genre and the demands of that genre. Promo has a different expectation. Automotive, to a degree, different expectation. Maybe political to a degree has a different expectation. But,
that makes sense.
Laundry detergent, I don't know. They probably don't need to do that.
No, and it was something
it's
that I was thinking.
10:00 at night and I need my laundry detergent commercial.
Get me the Tide right now. No, it was definitely something that I thought also could possibly just be agent to agent as well. Just what their personal preference and what their expectation is, because some agents, they work in different markets. Their rosters were a lot more competitive. And so there's that automatic barrier to entry where if you're not available, guess what? You're not getting it.
There is no question that one of my agents has said it absolutely clear. Every once in a while, there is an early bird gets the worm element to some of these things, right? So just because the deadline to submit is 3 days from now doesn't mean that they're going to hold all the auditions and submit them at that 3-day deadline. They may submit them in batches. And so the first batch of people that come in on the first day that do it right away, maybe they have a higher probability of booking on certain projects. And so I think there is an element of that. But I also think that there's an element of, I've had Kelly Mashinsky, Tina Marasco, Marilyn Wisner, like they've all been on the podcast. They're all top casting directors. Andy Roth has been on the podcast, top casting director. And every one of them tells me we listen to every audition. We listen to every audition because we have to, because that's our job. And who's to say that number audition 996 out of 1,000 isn't the perfect submission? So we listen at least an initial pass through all of them. And so then when I hear that, I think, okay, well, maybe I didn't get in as quick as I wanted, but maybe I've still got a shot.
Yeah. You're always the potential solution to their problem. So that automatically works in your favor.
That being said, I do have a handy dandy little hard shell case that I bought at, I can say Princess Auto because you'll know what I'm talking about because you're wearing a Toronto Blue Jays shirt. Everybody in the States that's listening right now is like, what the heck's a Princess Auto? Harbor Freight.
Yeah,
be the
basically.
equivalent.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got one of those hard shell cases that you can get at Princess Auto that is my travel case. And so I keep a separate interface in there. I keep a separate mouse in there. I keep separate cabling and all of that sort of stuff. And so if I'm going somewhere, all I have to do if I want to take gear with me is throw in my laptop, which usually is coming with me when I travel anyway, and I grab my 416 out of the booth. Everything else that I need is completely separate. It's like duplicates of everything. I don't have a duplicate 416 yet because I'm not that big of a deal, but maybe one day I'll be that big of a deal and I'll have a special separate travel
Twin
416.
Sennheisers.
Love to try to justify that expense to my
No
wife.
kidding.
But I do have that case. It sits in my office. And so if I need to go somewhere, like if I'm going to be gone overnight or going away for a week or something like that, and I want to be able to take stuff with me, it's never been easier to do that because of the portability of the equipment and everything now, right? You don't need giant interfaces and fancy microphones and all of that sort of stuff. And so it's kind of nice. I mean, I also have a tri booth. My family, my wife's family lives about 8 hours away, and we go up there multiple times throughout the year. So I've got a tri booth that I leave at my mother-in-law's place. And so then when I'm up there, if I need to, I set up the tri booth and I can record in the tri booth. But sometimes I just go up there and the tri booth stays in the box in the basement, and I just enjoy my time off too.
I used to use a blanket booth and my cats thought it was their own personal fort. But
yes, of course. Claw the crap out of it.
Yeah.
What is that strange noise in my recording?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. The amount of times that I had to go, oh, I didn't put the cat out of the room because this little
Can George Whittam build me a filter for that?
Yeah.
Listen to this, George.
Does
It's the sound of
Isotope
my
make
cat's
a-
claws on the moving blanket.
Does Isotope filter for cat purrs?
So, I mean, maybe somebody's gonna listen to this and say, no. You got to be on call 24/7. And here's my story of why. But I mean, from my experience and from talking to the voice actors that I talk to, that has certainly not been the case at this point. I really think, and look, part of the reason why I got off casting sites 10 years ago originally was because it was messing with my head. And I fully admitted that was part of the problem. I'm standing in line at the grocery store at 2:00 in the afternoon to buy a bag of milk. And while I'm there, 4 different auditions come in between 2 different casting sites. And by the time I get home 15 minutes later, I've missed out on all 4 of those auditions. And I'm like, that's it. I'm never going to get milk again. If I'm going to get milk, I can only go at 3:00 in the morning because I can't afford to. And there came a point when I was like, dude, why do you live like this? And this is not why you might as well go work for a 9 to 5 and work for the man at this point. Like, what's the point in being self-employed if you're going to live under that mentality? And so that was part of the reason why I said, I can't do this pay to play thing anymore. It's messing with my head and it's messing with my quality of life. I suspect there are some people who have that same thing going on. Maybe they just haven't identified it yet. And that's why they feel like, I got to have gear with me 24/7. I might miss out on 35 audition opportunities. There are worse things in life.
If they're lucky enough that they need to travel with gear, that's good for them. Like, if you're that in demand,
Yes,
you're extremely lucky.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, hey, one day would I hope that I could have a gig that would require that kind of expectation of me? I don't think I would be opposed to it because we still have the freedom and flexibility to travel and record from the road and, do Source Connect and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, that's still a far cry from when every single voiceover had to be recorded inside of a professional studio in a major city, in New York or Chicago or LA or whatever. And so, I mean, we've still got it pretty good at the end of the day, if you think about it.
When I was a baby VO talent, I was occasionally going into the studio, but where my career has happened in my life, that was like literally once or twice. It was always, for a while, it was my coach's home studio that she ran out of her home, and now it's my own. So
I think that you shouldn't be afraid of venturing back into the commercial space and looking for those opportunities, because I'll tell you what, I mean, part of the reason why I have started to come back so heavily into the commercial space is because so much of my non-broadcast business got wiped out by AI. And so I'm looking at where are the opportunities and where do I think the opportunities will continue to be. And I do think that commercial is going to be one of those spaces for longer than many of the other genres at this point. And I think that particularly the upper tiers of commercials. So, those agent level commercials, I think the opportunities are going to continue to be there. I think that it's going to be, you've got to be a top tier voice actor in order to get access to those opportunities. And so that's why there's always room for improvement, coaching and all of that sort of stuff, which I've also been doing. If I find myself in a situation where my agent says, look, Mark, you're booking so many commercials now that I'm going to need you to take gear with you everywhere you go. I mean, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, and probably happily.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You want me to buy my bagged milk at 3 a.m.? Sure, I can do that.
Yes, I will do it. Does that answer your question? Does it set your mind at ease a little bit?
Well, it definitely sets my mind at ease about the travel gear. What I'm interpreting is that really the barrier to entry is me. It's not needing travel gear.
It might be that just, you hear different things and you hear different takes. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, my opinion is just one opinion of 50 million voice actors who are out there and doing it. But my opinion is based on my experience and all the conversations that I'm having with the other voice actors and that as well. But if you're strictly talking about just commercial in general and not specifically automotive commercial or specifically political commercial, which I think those two areas of commercial may have exceptions to the rule every once in a while, I would say by and large, no, I don't think you got to have stuff with you everywhere you go. I guess the other question is, like, seriously, what kind of luxury life are you living that you are constantly on the road and traveling all the time? Tell me more about that.
It's aspirational,
Oh,
but
okay,
it
gotcha.
I think the other thing is, like, I worked on camera for a long time, and it always felt like the minute I went out of town, that was when an audition would roll in,
Yep.
And so I think there's a little bit of that too.
That comes back to that FOMO,
like,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
yep. It's that FOMO. And so you plan accordingly, right? Depending on what you're doing, maybe you take some gear, and maybe you have that gear. You're like, look, I'm not doing any pay to play auditions, but if a big agent audition comes in, I'll take that audition. I've done that as well, right? So that comes back again to the freedom and flexibility. I could choose to travel with no gear and just go completely off the grid. And I've done it many times and completely got away with it. I've chosen to take gear with me and just record all the good stuff that comes in when the opportunity presents itself. Maybe in the evening after the kids have gone to bed, we're on vacation, I go and do some stuff. I've done it where I will do some agent auditions if required, but that's it. And then I've done it where I've been on vacation and a client has come and said, hey, I need you for a session. And I say, yeah, okay, because now I get to write that session off. I get to write the trip off or part of the trip off as a business expense because now I was using the hotel room for work or whatever, right? So there's a dozen different ways that you can come at it, and I think that's part of the beauty of it too, is that we all get to decide. This time I'm taking gear. This time I'm not. This time I'm taking it to do this, but not this. This time I'm taking it to do everything. Whatever. We get that flexibility.
Yeah, every talent has to decide what kind of career they want and build it for themselves.
And God help me because I'm about to put a big agent push on now with my new commercial demo. So if I encounter an agent who says, by the way, I need your cell phone number with 24/7 availability, I'll let you know who that agent is so we can, I don't know, not apply.
The podcast episode will suddenly have a footnote.
Yes, that's right. We'll come back and we'll add an edit to it.
In our previous episode.
All right, Amy. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Put your mind at ease a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
Get out there and book some commercials.
Sounds like a plan.